Hey, and welcome back to another Learning Java 2D Game Programming video. So I have been rearranging my microphone a bit, so hopefully that annoying sound that has been for a couple of episodes is gone. So, what did we do in the last episode? Well, we made a way to be able to place tiles from entire tile sets. So, yay! Now we can build sort of a little map. So that's all fine and dandy. However, currently, we cannot save our map. So all of this work that I'm doing right now while I'm talking is gonna go to waste. Sad, but true. So that's what we will be fixing today. We're gonna be saving our map to a file, and then we can load it whenever we want into this map editor or into any other state that we'd like. So let's get to that. So the first thing that we're going to do is go to the map package and create a new class. I'm going to call it map.io, which stands for input output. Here we're going to have two static methods. One will be a public static void save, and the game map that you want to save. The other one is going to be a public static game map load. And currently we're not gonna, let's just return null for now so it's not unhappy with us. Currently we're not gonna use file names. We don't have a UI component that that we can, input text in just yet. We'll make that, but we don't have that today, so we're just gonna save it to some predetermined file name that we can load. So what do we need? Well, first we want to find this resources folder, or rather, when it's compiled, this production my game. This my game is the resources folder. As you can see, our different sprites and things have been copied into here, our sounds as well. So this acts as the resources folder when we are running our game. But we need to find this. So the way that we do that is how we've done before. So I'm just going to say a URL, which is part of the java.net package. I'm going to call this maybe URL to resources folder. It's a bit long name, but at least then you really understand what that does. And we're going to use the class of the map.io to find this resource. So we're just going to do this slash, which means the root, which will be the resources. All right, now that we have in this URL, we'll now know the entire path in your computer to where this folder is. So awesome, that's what we wanted. Now let's use something called a file from the java.io package. And I'm just going to call this maps folder, perhaps. And let's say a new file. We are using the URL to resources folder, get file, and then we are adding on the maps directory. So a file can also be a directory in this API. Now we need to check if this maps folder does not exist. Because if it doesn't exist, then we need to create it first. Make dir. Otherwise, it's going to be very sad when we try to save later. So we can't just slap on several directories that do not exist and then try to save in the last one. It won't create those directories. So we have to do that one by one. But we only have one deep. It's just the maps. So moving on, let's try using resources. So the things that can be auto-closable can go into these parentheses. So we have an object output stream. I'm going to call it object output stream. Is a new object output stream, and this takes, well, some sort of output stream. So we're going to have a file output stream. And what file do we want to output to? I'm going to say maps folder to string. And then let's just add the hard-coded map name. So I'm just going to call it map-ism for like ISO bubbler map. You could call it whatever you want, or use whatever sort of ending that you'd like. All right, now let's open that up. As you can see here, this is sad because it wants the catch clause. And file not found exception is actually an IO exception. And that's why this is yellow. So what this is saying that we can collapse these. We didn't need the other one because this covers that. All right, so what do we do with this? Let's say object output stream, write object, map. And believe it or not, for this part of the code, we are done. But this isn't gonna work though. So currently, this object output stream has something called write object, and it takes a Java object and does something called serialize. It serializes the object and writes it to a file. But we have to tell Java that our objects are serializable. Otherwise, it'll throw an exception. So if we just make a quick button to test this out, let's just go to the editor state, the UI for the editor state, go to the button menu where we have one thing called main menu. Let's make another one called save map. Maybe save is good enough. I mean, we're inside the map editor. All right, I'm just gonna take all that away at first, and then let's say map.io save state get game map. All right, now we have a button that uses our code. So I'm just gonna show you what happens if we try to press save now, and don't think about the looks right now, we'll fix that later. Just press save. So here's what happened. We got a not serializable exception. So it said that the game map is not serializable. We haven't said that it's okay to serialize this. So we need to do that, but it's as easy as going into the game map and then implement serializable. All right, so this is it. It's just a tag interface. The interface is completely empty. This is just a way for us to say that we think that it is okay to serialize this object. Now, the problem is all objects within this serializable object need to also be serializable. So we're still gonna get this exception because our tile is not serializable. So let's jump into the tile and say implement, serializable. There we go. So now both our game map and our tile implement serializable. And you'd think everything was fine and dandy now, but unfortunately it's not. So if we press that again, we're still gonna get this exception. And it says actually that the buffered image is not serializable. And it isn't. So what do we do? Well, there are actually ways of getting around it. So the buffered image, and I'm not going to pretend like I know a whole lot about how buffered objects work, but they sure can't be serialized because you need to write down the bytes and all of that. But still, I don't think we want to save a copy of the image for every tile, like all of the data for an image for every tile inside of our map. It's unnecessary. When we have the data already, we can just reload it. Upon loading our map, we can just reload that graphics. So how do we get around this? Well, we can actually tell the serializable, well, Java, that don't serialize these two fields. And we do that by the keyword transient. So now if we were to try to save this, save, no exception. However, when we load it up now, we're just gonna have tiles that are basically empty. So it's going to have saved this tile index, and we're going to get the tile index, but these two will be completely empty. And that is a problem for us, right? So there is, of course, a way to get around this. I mean, we can reload these images. Again, we just need to save what tile name did we have? What tile is this? So if we do that, and then inside here, this dot tile name is equal to tile name. We need to make a getter for the tile name. And when we make this copy of, we are doing this new tile. We are getting the tile image index. Let's just do that for the tile name. Sorry, get tile name. There we go. So now this will also be saved. This will be serialized and saved into our map. So when we load this tile up, it knows what index it has, and it knows what name it has. So what else do we really need? Let's make this helper method, which reloads the graphics. We have everything we need. All right, public void reload graphics, maybe? Takes in the sprite library. And here, we're just gonna say that image is equal to sprite library, get image, tile name. And then let's do the generate sprite thing. So now we should be happy. We just need to take care of that here, and we do that inside of the load. So now when we load a map, we need to have the sprite library. All right. Let's do a try with resources once again. So try object input stream. Object input stream is equal to a new object input stream. And we're going to give it a file input stream. And like before, let's just do map.io class get resource. And I'm going to do maps map.ism. And then let's do get file. And again, let's add the catch block. And I don't know why it starts by doing both of them. And then it says, oh, just do the one. Whatever. All right, so now we have an object input stream to read from. So let's get our game map out of there. And we need to cast it because it comes in the form of just an object. So read object. It also needs a class not found exception to be caught. Right. All right. And now we need to make sure that our graphics is reloaded. So what did we call it? Didn't we call it reload? I don't know what we call it. Let's go inside, and we did it in here. Right. We also probably need to do that. Let's wrap it. So instead of going through each and every tile from the load, let's have a wrapping method inside of here, which also does it. So public void reload graphics using the sprite library. So we just need to go through every tile and tell it to reload its graphics. So for, I guess, tile array row in tiles, let's do row dots. Of course, this is an array. So for each tile using the sprite library. So a double for loop. All right. map dot reload graphics using the sprite library, and then let's return the map. All right, let's see what happens if we can load our map. And let's do that. Let's go to some state. The menu state, maybe. Let's try that in the menu state. So here we're saying new game map. Let's not. Map.io, load. So if there is a game map saved, we're gonna load it. So let's try that. And we got a null pointer exception. So let's see what that is. And it says that the local class is incompatible because they were serialized with different versions. So what that means is that the map that we saved had the type of tile that was before we added the tile name. So the version of that tile contains too little information, basically. So if we were to save a new map now, this incredible map that I just spent a lot of time making, they should be the same version. All right, let's just go back to the menu state. Let's just redo what we did before. Map.io.load and put in the sprite library and press save, play. And there you have it. Here is our awesome map that we spent a lot of time making. And we can, of course, also have it load in the editor so we can always do it again. But instead of having it automatically loading in the editor, let's just make a load button. And this now wants the sprite library. There we go. So first, there is just this nothing, and then we press load, and there is nothing because we need to set the map, of course. Just loading it and doing nothing with it isn't gonna help. So state set game map. Or rather, maybe it would be better if we said load game map instead. So state load game map, and then gave it whatever map name that we have. Currently we have none, so we are wrapping this or giving it its own method inside of state. So game map is equal to map.io load sprite library. Let's try again. And there you have it. So now we can save our progress so that when we do these super awesome maps, we don't have to redo them. And there you have it. Now we can save and load our maps and put them in different states. Seems cool. Let's also load it into the game state. And there you go. Now we can play on our new maps. So yay for us. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Hej då.